Hard work really begins for Illinois state lawmakers starting this coming week. That's after Governor J.B. Pritzker unveiled his budget proposal a few days ago in his State of the State address. The governor promises his $55 billion spending plan is a balanced budget for fiscal year that starts July 1st, fiscal year 2026. Is an increase of about 3% from the current budget, and his plan closes the projected budget shortfall of more than $3 billion. The governor got help when the latest revenue forecast projects Illinois will collect another $1.5 billion. That has the state expected to finish the year with revenue growth of 5%, significantly lower though than the growth of more than 10% in recent years. Some quick budget highlights for you. Pritzker indicates the revenue growth for fiscal year 2026 is projected to be down to 1.9%. One of his key proposals is the Prescription Drug Affordability Act to target pharmacy benefit managers, widely criticized for driving up prices for prescription drugs. The governor proposes allowing community colleges to offer more four-year baccalaureate degrees for career paths that are in demand. And he wants to eliminate Medicare coverage for adults younger than 64 who are not American citizens. Governor Pritzker vows to hold the line in what figures to be a tough budget year.
Let's be clear, I will only sign a balanced budget. If you come to the table looking to spend more, I'm going to ask you where you want to cut. I have made difficult decisions, including to programs that I have championed, which is hard for me, just as I know some of the difficult decisions you will have to make will be hard for you.
Governor J.B. Pritzker's budget will now be dissected by state lawmakers. Several members of his own party don't like significant parts of it. State Representative Gregg Johnson will have a vote in Springfield. He joins us for a conversation this morning. Welcome back to the program, Representative.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate it.
What's your initial reaction to the governor's budget plan?
I don't think I've ever seen a budget year where there are just so many variables that we just don't know what's going to happen with unknowns. I thought the budget address was, for considering the circumstances, I thought it was a good budget address. I understand there are some people who are going to have issues with it. I've seen some of the complaints. People need to understand, once again, as we say every year, this is a suggested budget. It starts the process of what goes on with the governor's side, the Senate, and the House, and we will all have to go through it line by line, item by item. And when we come to May, we will end up having a budget that is balanced and that we think is the best budget to serve our citizens here in the state of Illinois.
You talked about those unknowns. An update from the state's Department of Revenue indicates $1.5 billion increase in the state's cash situation. That essentially cut the projected $3.2 billion deficit to $1.7 billion. Now the budget then relies on assumptions of increased spending to generate sales tax revenue as well as gaming revenue and other sources to close the rest of the shortfall. How confident are you in those assumptions?
So historically, and once again, we've been on this show in previous years, and I appreciate the fact that our revenue expectations are always off and always pessimistic. So while it's nice to hear that we're looking at closer to a $1.5, $1.6 billion deficit as far as revenue, I think that I'm fairly confident in the numbers, but we'll see more numbers in April. We're more confident when COGFA comes out in April and kind of lets us know where we're at. I wish they kind of would have waited on that news. We were heading in with the mindset we were going to have a $3 billion shortfall. And now all of a sudden I feel like hopefully some of my colleagues that weren't around in the really lean years don't all of a sudden think we have a shortfall. We have to make some really, really tough decisions. And one thing in the governor's address that really stuck out to me, Jim, was when he referred back to previous budgets and he talked about we have to avoid a catastrophic budget. Catastrophic budgets are what I lived through when I worked in state government in the Department of Corrections under Governor Quinn, under Governor Rauner, in which we had examples like 3 years of no MAP grants where we had a brain drain and young people leaving the state in droves to pursue education otherwise. I want to go to the people who were here during those years, work with them, have them be our partners in crafting this budget, because we have to live within our means. We absolutely have to. The fact that I am not in support of raising taxes. We need to live within our means, and I feel like last year at the end of the year, I felt like we were possibly trending the other direction. And now we have to make sure that we've worked too hard here in Illinois since 2018, 2019 to start going the other direction.
I know there are a lot of details to go through, but based on what the governor's proposed so far, what you know about it, do you have any problems in any areas, and if so, where?
You know, for me, I guess it's easy for me to be supportive because the three things I've really, from the beginning, been very supportive of are workforce development, infrastructure spending because of the return on the dollars, investing in education at every level, and supporting mental health. And also going after insurance companies. You know, the governor talked about going after the PBMs and making sure that pharmaceutical companies and insurance companies are not making all of our decisions, and which is leading to bad outcomes and just unaffordable for our residents. So for me, I'm particularly happy because those are areas that I've always focused on.
Well, not very many agencies will see significant spending increases. Those bigger increases targeted for education and healthcare programs. You referred to one of them already. Spending for every other program, relatively flat or slight increases. One of the more controversial proposals would be to cut Medicare for adults younger than 64 who are not American citizens. It would save an estimated $420 million. Republicans support this idea. Democrats in the Latino caucus, highly critical. I guess, what do you think about it? What are the chances the governor gets his way on this?
I guess we're going to find out. You know, the money we've spent a lot of money on healthcare, on healthcare, and I think that we're going to have to see how that shakes out. Look, we're never happy when we have people who get left behind, but right now the revenue is just not there. It's not, and as we talked about earlier, you know, we're going to have problems potentially on the Medicare level. That it is going to be catastrophic. So I think the governor felt like he had no choice but to cut the funding to the age groups, at least 42 to 64, I believe. There's another benefit that kicks in at 65 and over.
Do you agree with that move, though?
And then also, you know, just moving forward, just covering everybody here in Illinois. It's going to be bad, possibly.
But do you agree with that move to cut it to that specific age group who are not citizens?
At this point, I would have to say it probably is the prudent thing to do until we see where we're at going forward. I know last year there was even a push to add ages 19 to 41, and look, we would love to do that. I just right now don't think the money is there. I just don't, unfortunately. Well, Governor, but I'd like to see, you know, if revenues are up and we continue to provide coverage to everybody, then we'd love to do that. But nobody wants to be a society that isn't able to provide health care to all of their people. But we are going to be hemorrhaging Medicaid losses and costs at every single level.
Well, Governor J.B. Pritzker did not shy away from criticizing Donald Trump in his address. He went so far to compare his actions to the rise of Nazi Germany. What did you think of that?
I think that we are in the most polarizing times, and these are times that we never, ever thought we would see. The criticism that the governor is getting for what he said on the floor, I find to be particularly rich, considering for 2 years now I've listened to Republicans sing the praises of Donald Trump. And even immediately following the governor's address, 2 members of the Freedom Caucus of the Republican Party whipped out their red MAGA hats and put them on. I really, Donald Trump is being embraced by some of the worst in our society. And they would love, many of these people would love to take us back to those days. And there is nothing that the governor said in relationship to those groups that have aligned with Donald Trump that was just not true. It's unfortunate that we're having these conversations in our chamber, but I appreciate the fact that the governor called it as he sees it, and as a lot of us see it. It has to be stopped. It has to be stopped right now. If we don't stop these things now, when are we going to stop them?
One criticism from the Quad Cities Chamber of Commerce about the budget is it doesn't address the need for transportation projects in this area. Do you agree?
I don't think it's a criticism. I think he's just waiting to see where this conversation goes. There's a couple of different plans they're looking at. I can tell you that any kind of Chicago transportation plan has to be changed to an Illinois transportation plan. I'm not about to support something that's not going to include all of Illinois. We have needs right here in the Quad Cities, as you know, not just with Amtrak, but along the ways. And there's no way that I could get behind any kind of bill that doesn't bring revenue to the Quad City region as well. For too long, Western Illinois has been left behind. I'm a little tired of so much revenue going to Chicago and Collier counties when we have a whole lot of needs right now, and our people are just as deserving as anywhere else in the state of Illinois.
You talked about
in transportation and so many other areas.
You hinted on Amtrak there. What do you think stand with that as far as you know? Is there progress?
There's still discussions. We still have placeholder language on both sides. We are constantly having discussions. We had another slight discussion today. We're getting information. We're not going to give up on this, but it's going to continue to be a difficult conversation. But we've been promised this, and I absolutely want the promise to be fulfilled for our citizens. I just do.
Illinois State Representative Gregg Johnson, thanks for the conversation. Good luck with everything in Springfield. That brings us to our question of the week. What do you think about Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker's proposal to cut Medicare services for adults younger than 64 who are not American citizens? You can send your answer by email to fortherecord@whbf.com or respond to this post on Facebook at the local 4 News WHBF TV page or on my page.